Warning! You're watching a video made by me. This is normally enough of a warning as it is, but this one was also worked on primarily when I was sick, therefore making it not good. You may be asking, why release it then? And that is a good question. Anyways, here's the video. Welcome to Forced Perspective, the review show where we look at games that are new and interesting, and also from time to time, we look at, well, a lot of platformers. Yep. Today we're taking a look at Just Get Through. The game is called Just Get Through. Okay, free marketing advice. Don't do that. It's the title. You just get through the levels. Until you die. Enough times, because you have multiple lives. And maybe the name isn't as bad as I thought. I mean, it's a marketing nightmare, but, it's accurate. Well, anyways, the game. Just Get Through is a pixelated platformer with randomly generated levels, an upgrade system, and high explosives. Well, bum on someone's watch list. Anyways, getting away from that, let's talk about the platforming. It's good. Good enough that I feel I don't need to actually mention much. Everything feels the way it should. It feels natural. The jumping's good, the movement's good, everything's good, except the wall jumping. You can't jump on the same wall multiple times, which makes sense. It would get rid of a lot of the difficulty if you could, but I've always wall jumped with a very precise formula. Cling to wall, press direction opposite of said wall, press jump, and win the video game. That don't work here. You have to move after jumping, or you'll fall, most likely to your death. It's not an issue after you figure this out, but like I said, everything else is good enough to be ignored, so I have to complain about something. And by the way, if that seems stupid, that's because, well, it is. Oh, and by the way, mostly root bindable keys. Not the movement keys, though, because left-handed people don't exist. Maybe someday science will be able to figure out how to make people use their left hands efficiently. For now, though, on to enemy variety. Or rather, obstacle variety, because they're not enemies, they're traps. But obstacle variety sounds ridiculous, so this axe is now an axe with a face and is therefore an enemy. Done. But getting back to the point, the variety of things trying to kill you is actually pretty good. Well, technically it's not good because living is in fact one of my primary hobbies, but there's enough of them that there's a new one added every few levels, keeping everything fresh. And I've gotta say that none of them feel all that intimidating at first, but then this happens and that feeling goes away and is replaced with the feeling of hatred and sadness, which is shortly after replaced with a lot of explosions and a disturbing amount of laughter. And that, minus the laughter, is a legitimate way to deal with an area you're having problems with. The levels are composed of blocks that you can destroy, either by jumping at them if you feel like wasting an hour, or if you feel like accomplishing literally anything, you can use dynamite to destroy blocks and traps. Oh, by the way, you don't have infinite dynamite, you start with 10 and can get more as you progress. But still, you shouldn't just go around blowing everything up. I did, but I had my reasons. I didn't have any reasons. But in doing so, I did learn that you can, in fact, get completely stuck. So that's good. Well, technically, I guess you could get out of this if you dug out a staircase with your face, but the problem is that you can't really decide what you want to destroy. If you come in contact with a block enough times, it will crumble. So that, in combination with the fact that it takes a ridiculous amount of time to destroy blocks, makes it a better idea to just start over. To be fair, there are upgrades to make you destroy blocks faster, but the other ones are just so much more useful that I never even thought about taking it. By the way, can you guess what we're talking about next? So, the level creator has nothing to do with this. You're right, it's about upgrades, okay? I'm sorry. I like making stupid jokes. Getting back to the point, though, every few levels you'll be given a choice of 3 random upgrades, ranging from permanent improvements like faster sprinting, higher jumps, resist to explosion, increased life or dynamite capacity, and so on. Or if you really need them, you could take just a few lives or some dynamite. It depends on how much you suck. Personally, I did this a lot, but yeah. Honestly though, the actual upgrades don't have a huge impact. It's just enough to help you out a bit, which I think is a good thing because it helps prevent the feeling of being completely at the mercy of ability randomness. Which is kind of important given the fact that this game is sort of a leaderboard game. There's no end, you just keep going until you run out of lives, and at the end you're given your ranking. No, this is wrong. I feel wrong about this, and quite frankly, I'm offended by the whole thing. But that does show off a bit of a problem. There isn't any competition, and that's normally kind of the focus point of the whole high score thing. It's not like that's the game's fault, but still, unless you're happy with just constantly beating your own personal best, you're not going to be playing for very long before you're at the top. I'm bad at things, okay, let's get that out of it. Just things in general, and I'm in the top 10. There's only a grand total of 1,270 scores on the online leaderboard at the time of recording, and it posts scores from the same person multiple times. Basically, you have to play it like it has an ending with no climax. Once you get to around level 40, you'll have seen everything and can move on. Well, unless you want to mess around with the level creator, which is a thing that exists. For the sake of consistency, I have to say that I like that you mine out empty space with rockets, but actually I feel it's unnecessarily time-consuming. Especially when they cause pretty significant frame drops. My personal best was 2 frames per second. I never could quite get to that single frame. It's a shame. But the devs are obviously aware of this too. They have an achievement that basically shows that. You can't just jokingly mention your own failings and pretend it's okay. It's not at first like to say that I have not completed this game. That I was not a punk. Turns out the opposite is true, and now I've run out of patience. Carry on. Really though, the level editor is pretty standard in every other sense. Not robust enough to do anything spectacular, but someone could make something... well, just something, but it would be a thing, certainly. Overall, I felt that Just Get Through, well, mechanically solid, lacks enough variety to keep it compelling for any kind of extended amount of time, and also doesn't have the player base to support any kind of leaderboard chasing. So, as a result of those problems, after 3 hours of play, I feel like I'm done with this game. With that said though, those 3 hours were enjoyable, and I do feel that it's a worthwhile game, it just might not have the replay value you would expect. But the dev has released a few content updates while I was making this, including more color palettes. A thing I didn't mention before, but that's because they're color palettes. They change the color of the game. I don't know what you want from me. Thanks for watching. Click over here to watch the last review. It has squirrels in it. That's about it. It's the random squirrels you get whenever you die. Ranging from standard to disturbingly gleeful and, my personal favorite, needlessly smug squirrel. Look at him, so full of unearned self-satisfaction, he even